One, I'm a Ugandan. I think that's the most important.
Yes.
Not only that I'm a Ugandan, but I'm a Muchiga. I come from Kabale. Now, Kabale is in southwestern Uganda, and that's where I was born. Historically, we are told that we came from Rwanda before we settled in Kabale, like every other Muchiga, anyway. I wouldn't want to say I'm a student because there is life beyond being a student. Yeah, I'm a lawyer because graduated from Makerere University. I like calling myself an activist and a blogger. I wouldn't want to call it a particular profession, but life in Uganda has now become you're either part of them or you're not part of them. If you're not part of them, you're an activist. It just follows. You don't have to do particular things to be, but the fact that you don't agree with them means you're an activist. You are an activist even when you don't say anything, because the fact that you don't support them, you don't sing praises for them, means you don't agree with what they're doing, and that makes you an activist in itself. So I call myself an activist and a Ugandan and a blogger. Three important things, I'll make them three, that I look at in our country. One is identity. Our identity is vague. When you ask who is a Ugandan, no one can give you an answer. It depends on the interests of the person you're asking. A sports person will perhaps not locate a Ugandan if that person is not in Uganda or is not Ugandan themselves, because we are not on the map. What identifies people of different nationalities, I can give you an example. I know Rooney is an Englishman because of sports. We can't say on the world map there's no Ugandan you can talk about. So when that Ugandan identity doesn't exist in sports, we can't talk about Akibua, that is the 1970s. We are now in 2011. So you can't talk about the 1970s. And anyway, when you talk about the 1970s, then you're talking about Idi Amin Dada, because that's the first person people think about. And yet, ironically, during Idi Amin Dada's time, that's when we had sports icons. That's when we had Akibua. That's when Uganda reached the finals of the African Cup of Nations. And yet, Amin gives us a bad picture. So how bad is that picture? If all our icons are located during the time he was our president, then how bad is the picture? Because Uganda was more active than we are on the African continent when Idi Amin was our president. When he was talking about Israel, he was talking about Palestine. For the wrong reasons, yes, but for the wrong reasons, again, Museveni is talked about in Somalia. What's the difference then? Amin perfected the wrong reasons, perhaps, better than Museveni is doing. That's one part of identity, of national identity. Now, internally, when you talk about identity, when someone tells you I'm a Muganda internally, because of the politics and because of the selfishness of our leaders and because they have no agenda beyond fitting themselves, so they have used our tribal identities for the wrong reasons. I should be proud of my tribe. I should be proud of my roots. Several times we hear about the other countries and people are proud of who they are. But in Uganda, when you say I'm a Muchiga, then they say, you are dividing people. Why should we be divided because of our identities? We should be proud that we are a country of very many identities. Americans usually tell us they are proud because America is a land of dreams. Anyone can come to America and achieve their dreams. And they are proud of where they come from. Obama can say, I'm a son of a Kenyan man, and it's okay. But in Uganda, when you say I'm a son of a Muchiga, then they say you're dividing people. So where is the problem? Perhaps our governance, that's where the problem is, because the history of how our current leaders got into power is because they rode on the division of the North has ruled us enough, so we the South should rule. And that has destroyed the foundation. We are not a nation. Because I can tell you, I can probably tell you I'm a Muchiga, but I can define myself as a Muchiga because practically growing up in the hills gives you specific characteristics, and that makes you a Muchiga. Growing up near Mount Elgon makes you a Mugisu because of the characteristics. Growing up in northern Uganda, the dynamics are different. But I can't tell you I'm a Ugandan and justify my being a Ugandan. And if I don't tell you that I'm a Ugandan, you won't know that I'm a Ugandan. Whereas you can know that I'm this and this before I tell you who I am. But you can't tell that I'm a Ugandan because Uganda doesn't exist almost. We are divided and there is no particular intention or particular actions geared at making us a country. Because what should be making us a country, if sports can't, I'm proud that when there's a football game, we all go. But it's the least supported sector of the economy. The government is not interested in sports. Yet that's what unites us. Education can't unite us. Of recent, it's hard for someone from Kabale to go and study in Bale, which was possible under Milton Obote's regime. Yet the present government tells us that Milton Obote was a bad man. But it was possible for someone from Kabale to study from Bale then. But now it's not possible. So you're in a cocoon. All of us are in cocoons. It's funny, where I grew up from, people did not even know there was war in northern Uganda. Someone in northern Uganda did not know we had peace in southern Uganda. And yet we are same country. And yet we have a government that claims that they brought peace to us. And therefore we should be held at ransom because they brought peace. And yet there is no unity. No, what peace is that then? So who is the Ugandan? The identity question is much bigger in Uganda now because the government is not interested in creating a Ugandan image. Perhaps Nasantege Sebagala is known internationally for his fraud and for being a Ugandan. I think sometimes maybe they even compare us to Nigerians when it comes to fraud, because internationally recognized, and he was a mayor of Kampala, and he was even appointed by the current president to be a minister, someone who is internationally known as a fraudster. But there was news some time back in the UK that members of our embassy in the UK were part of drug trafficking. So what image, what identity do we have as Ugandans? I can't look at music because I can't remember. On the world map, I can't locate Ugandans. I can't talk about the movie industry. It's non-existent. I can't. It is existent, yes, but on the world map, we don't exist. I can't talk about writing literature because it's only occult PB Tech. And we are talking about the 1970s and 1960s. All our national pride comes from our history. And yet we have a man who has ruled us for more than half the time we've been independent. But for us to be proud as Ugandans, we have to look before he took over power, which means we've been wasting away the time he's been in power because there is nothing we are proud about. I can give you an example. In Somalia, we claim we're being Pan-Africanists. But who in Uganda, on the Ugandan streets, who supports whatever we're doing in Somalia? Who even knows that the army is in Somalia? Apart from the July 11 bombing that woke everyone up because they were saying we were bombed because we were in Somalia. But we didn't actually know that we were in Somalia. And for what reasons? As people are dying of jiggers, people are dying of poverty, someone is willing to invest billions and trillions of money in a war we are not bothered about. So the whole question is of who are we? And if our leadership cannot, because I'll give you an example of Buganda. The Kabaka, the king of the Baganda, is the identity of the Baganda. So when you talk about the Kabaka, you're talking about the Baganda. But when you're talking about Obama, you're talking about the Americans, because he's the American president. But I'm uncomfortable as a Ugandan when you talk about Museveni and you say you're talking about Ugandans. Because I don't think he represents us. I don't think he represents our interests. If he's fighting wars that we don't see fruits from. I'll give you another example. We went to Congo as a country and invaded Congo. Individuals looted the Congo, but the country is going to pay billions of dollars in fines to Congo because individuals looted the Congo. That even the national parliament, the parliament that does not bite anyway, that is not even back of recent, did not endorse the decision to go to Congo. He could even have bribed them to endorse, but he did not even bribe them to endorse. And we were in Congo many years. Today we're still involved in Congo, we are told. And there is nothing for us. We don't get anything out of it. So at the end of the day, we are not a nation as Ugandans. We are nations because I am born a Muchiga, someone is born a Mugisu, someone is born a Choli, someone is born Langi. There is nothing you're going to do about that. Someone is born in Uganda, nothing you can do about that. But what should make me a Ugandan is what the Ugandan state is to me. Ever since I was born, we have been paying school fees in schools since primary to debt. And even when we are paying school fees, there is no merit. Like we hear, if you're brilliant, actually you don't need to be American to go to Harvard. If you're brilliant, you will have your way to Harvard. And then you know, everyone, when you see Harvard tag, you know that one is brilliant. In Uganda, it's how much you have in your pocket. It's not about, you can go read your books, go spend nights reading your books and get even good marks, but if you cannot afford, the state does not need to cater for you. Now, why should I like my state? If my state does not like me, I do not get free healthcare. I don't get free healthcare. I don't get free education. I don't get nothing from the state. So what is Uganda to me? Before I love Uganda, what is Uganda to me? The only thing I can talk about Uganda is because by colonial accident, Chigezi ended up in Uganda. We could have ended up in Rwanda. But by colonial accident, we ended up in Uganda. That's the only thing that makes me Ugandan. Nothing more. When you interact with other Africans, when you interact with the Nigerians, with all their internal divisions, Nigerians are proud to be Nigerians. When I meet a Nigerian, I know this is a Nigerian. When I meet an Egyptian, I know this is an Egyptian, because they're proud. You see it. When you meet me, you're not sure where. I've met people and they thought I'm Zimbabwean. They thought I'm from Sierra Leone. Because there's nothing there is no Ugandan identity, which is a crucial matter, because when you talk politics, we need to know, what do I have allegiance to my country? If I have no allegiance to my country, then that country as well doesn't exist. Because you'll interact with people and you realize that we have allegiance to individuals, not to the country. So you'll find someone with a Museveni t-shirt, but not with a Ugandan t-shirt, which is a major concern, because Museveni and Uganda are two different things, and we should not make them one, because making them one makes one lose out. So identity is a very important thing, and without identity, we don't exist as a country. Now, what can we do about it? Because we are going to cry and cry and cry and complain, and it's going to stop there. So what can we do as Ugandans? There are a few examples I've given you of Ugandans that made us proud. Okot Bibitek did not need government to tell him, write good poetry. He did, and it made us proud. It makes us proud as Ugandans. But we must remember that there was government sponsorship for those who were interested in education during that time. That environment, the equal opportunity environment, where if I'm talented, if I'm a footballer, if I'm a musician, if I'm an artist, if I'm a farmer, let's say, there is a leveled ground, so I can do my thing, excel at my thing, and make Uganda proud. Right now, you are not supporting the regime, and you can't. No, supporting the regime per se is not enough. There are individuals I know who support the regime. They're as poor as me. They suffer like me. They have no shelter. They have no school fees. They have no medical care. We're the same. They are hoping by supporting the regime they'll get something. But if you're not related to individuals in the regime, then you're nothing. Even though you are part of the regime and you're eating with them, if you don't agree with them, then you will become nothing immediately after. So at the end of the day, we are held ransom by particular individuals, who we know, by the way. But of course, we fear saying who they are or saying what they are doing. Because, for instance, I've asked questions. Do we know how much President Museveni has earned as a president since he became president? How rich was he when he became president? How rich is he now? How has he become that rich? Can he account? How much has he taken from state coffers? Officially, let's say. Constitutionally or legally, what is his salary? So can he tell us how Chisozi farm ended up being that big? Do we know? I watch Kenyan television because Kenyan media is freer than Ugandan media. And on Citizen TV, you can see Mwai Kibaki owns this company, owns this bank, blah, blah, blah. Raila Odinga owns this, Mudavadi owns this. Can Museveni tell us what he owns? Can we see the business acumen in him for us to be proud and say, I want to be like Museveni because I know how he made his money? Or does he have money in the first place?